contracts, new conference, same old Sports Paws.
And something that's not new is the women's rugby team making history in their game against Eastern Illinois University.
But the women's rugby team isn't the only team making history at Quinnipiac. All that more coming up on Sports Paws.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of Sports Paws for the year. I'm Camille Bova.
And I'm Giovanni. Did you miss being here this summer, Camille?
I sure did. What about you?
I mean, I had some moments where I wanted to stay back home, but it feels great to be back.
Yes, it does. And we definitely have a lot to catch up on between news on coaches, our move to the MAAC, and filling you in on fall sports.
But before we get into that, while everyone was home enjoying their summers, a good amount of things happened. Here's what you missed.
Quinnipiac agreed to a settlement in the Title IX lawsuit that has been going on for the past 4 years. The lawsuit came about after the university tried to get rid of the women's volleyball team in place of a competitive cheer team, but were unsuccessful. Quinnipiac will keep all of its women's teams and scholarships along with improving the facilities as part of the agreement.
Quinnipiac and ANC Sports Enterprises agreed to place 2 high-definition scoreboards for both arenas in the TD Bank Sports Center. The scoreboards will feature live replays, student-athlete introductions, and full-motion animations. TD Bank Sports Center is currently installing the scoreboards, and they are expected to be up and running by Bobcats Madness.
This August, the men's hockey team traveled to Europe for an 11-day tour. Quinnipiac captured the Challenge Cup series against Asiago, an Italian hockey team. The Bobcats won the final competition 4-0. Captain Corey Hibbler led the Bobcats with 2 goals and 1 assist.
If you have followed Quinnipiac sports for the past several years, you might be familiar with the Northeast Conference. Well now, the Bobcats have changed conferences, and we here at Sports Paws are going to welcome you to the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, also known as the MAAC. The MAAC was formed in 1980 and contains 11 main teams such as the Niagara Purple Eagles and the Iona Gales, along with a few associate members like Bryant University. Starting this season, the MAAC will add field hockey, their 25th sport in the conference.
We know that Quinnipiac is moving to the MAAC, but what does that all mean? Our Jordan Siegler sat down with Rich Hanley to talk about the recent move. Hanley is the Athletics Council chairperson and a journalism professor for the Quinnipiac University School of Communications.
The most beneficial part of joining MAAC is the geographical coherence centered on New York City. It just gives a clarity to our mission, a clarity to our geographic base, and from this clear base we can then launch our university to excellence throughout the United States. Athletics are often seen as the front porch of a university, and there's no bigger front porch than New York City in the media. And to have that capacity to compete, with a New York focus to a MAAC, its name, implies the metropolitan New York area, I think gives us an incredible advantage and one that we're blessed to have. It also is an upgrade in competition. The university has stated that it wishes its athletic teams to be among the top in the nation in the sports in which it competes. And the MAAC elevates our profile in that area by holding competitions against some terrific universities. These universities also are our peer universities in terms of our academic excellence. This appears to be a wonderful partnership that is destined to last a long time. I think a lot of conversation about this is a stepping stone to another league is a little bit premature at this point. Conference memberships are in flux throughout the United States, and I think we're in a perfect niche right now in the MAAC, and I can't see any reason at this point where we'd consider going anywhere else. I think we're comfortable with our first year in the MAAC. We're looking forward to it, and I can't see any reason why we would look beyond our partners in this great conference in this great part of the country. Quinnipiac teams will find each sport to offer different levels of competition. In women's basketball, Marist will certainly be a principal opponent, one that's been nationally ranked and has a great tradition in women's basketball. Fairfield in men's basketball, Manhattan College in men's basketball, Siena in men's basketball also provide that competitive level that we desire. You have to play against top teams to be among the top teams. And, it's the same for the other sports as well. These are tradition-rich institutions that have played sports for a long time. Manhattan College, for example, invented the seventh inning stretch a long, long time ago, and we will be competing with that university, in baseball. So we're plugging into a grand tradition of sports throughout the lineup of universities in the conference, and we're pleased to do so. I think we have a great lineup of teams, from women's rugby, to men's and women's soccer and cross country. I think we have a very competitive lineup of squads, and there's some good coaches who will do the university well. We will be competitive in everything, and I can see us winning some MAAC championships. If not immediately, certainly in the near term. And I think men's and women's soccer show great promise, great athletes, great coaches.
And with a new conference comes new expectations. I'm here alongside two of Q30 Sports' own. To my left, the general manager of Q30, Mr. Jon Alba.
Thanks for having me, Gio.
And to my right, the sports director of Q30 Television, Mark Spillane.
Glad to be here, Gio.
All right, gentlemen, shake hands, if you can reach.
I'm good. I got it.
All right, just wanted to make sure. Now, like we said, most of Quinnipiac fall sports are entering the MAAC. So the first question I want to ask you both is, which team do you think is going to have the most success in the MAAC? We'll start with Jon.
Well, Gio, I think the team that's going to have the most success is going to be women's cross country. This is a team that won 8 consecutive Northeast Conference championships prior to leaving for the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Now, they do have their work cut out for them. They have Iona lurking around the corner because guess what? Iona, they're a clone. They've done the same exact thing that Quinnipiac has, so they do have their work cut out for them. But in terms of the MAAC, I think in fall sports, you're going to see women's cross country do the best.
All right, Mark.
Jon, I like that answer. I can agree with that I think the women's cross country team is going to have a lot of success. But I'm going to go with the women's field hockey team. They've been at the top of the NEC, or near the top, over the past few years, and Ryder's been the one team that they can't beat. It's going to be the same thing this year. If they can beat Ryder, they're going to take the top spot. They're second in the preseason poll behind Ryder. They've got 3 seniors that are going to lead the way this year, with Amanda Danziger, Jennalise Taylor, and Jess Rusin. And if Megan Conaboy can step up a little bit and be close to what Nicole Lewis has been in net for them over the past few years, I think they make a push for the top spot.
You see, Mark, I hear what you're saying on that, and I do agree with you that this team has a legitimate chance. Keep one thing in mind. The MAAC championships occur at Ryder, so a little bit of home field advantage for that school if you get that deep into the season. Jessica Soha returning for the Quinnipiac women's cross country team. This is a female athlete who was able to climb towards the top. Now she's here for her senior season. She's going to look to explode out of the gate alongside Brianna Faust, and you even have an emerging sophomore in Tracy Campbell. Very excited to see what women's cross country can do.
All right, so next question for both of you guys. Is there any player or players that are going to enter the MAAC this season for fall sports that are going to make a big impact right away? So Mark, we'll start with you.
I'm going to stick with the field hockey team. I like Jess Rusin. She's somebody who had 9 goals last year as well as 24 points. She was near the top in the league in all offensive categories, and she's one of 3 all MAAC preseason forward selections. So she's going to have a big year. She's going to get a lot of shots because they know she's going to be the go-to player on that team, on a good team as well that can really move the ball up the field, across midfield. She's going to get a lot of opportunities to score, and I think she's going to, and she's going to make a lot of noise in the MAAC this year.
Yeah, I like your pick there, Mark, but I'm going to go with Borja Goita of the men's soccer team. This is a team that won the regular season conference championship in the Northeast Conference last year. They come over to the MAAC. They're picked 6th this year. Obviously, they lost a lot of different presence, but Borja Goita was one of the strong points of that team last season. 1.12 goals against average. That's pretty darn good. Named preseason All-MAAC this time around, and Monmouth was picked to win this conference just over by Iona by a couple points. It's going to be interesting to see if Eric DaCosta and his squad can make some noise, and I think if they can, Borja Goita is the driving force behind that. But I do hear what you're saying on Rusin's behalf. It seems to us that we believe that this field hockey team can make a move in the MAAC this year, especially since that conference is essentially the same exact thing.
And I think it's worth noting that if both of these teams are going to have success, Rusin's going to have to be dominant, and Goita's going to have to be dominant. If they are not what they were, at least what they were last year, if not better than that, they're going to struggle a little bit because those are the top 2 players, particularly with the men's soccer team.
All right, and one more question for you guys. Fact or fiction? At least one fall sports team this year is going to win a MAAC title. Jon, we'll start with you.
I'm going to say false. I think the team that has the best chance of doing so is the women's cross country team. those Iona Gales, though, are going to be a struggle for them. And on September 21st, you're going to see Quinnipiac travel over to the Bronx for the Iona Meet of Champions. So that's going to be interesting to see unfold. Quinnipiac's going to get a chance to prove that they are there to stay. Truthfully, though, I don't see a team in the MAAC succeeding this year in terms of winning a championship.
I'm going to say fact. I think between the women's cross country team and the field hockey team, rather, that one of those teams is going to make a push and be able to get over the top and win that championship. I mean, we talked about how the field hockey team just has to beat Ryder. That's really what it's going to come down to, whether they can beat Ryder or not. It's going to come down to whether or not the cross country team can beat Iona. I think one of them will be able to do that. And since we're only talking about one team getting that championship, I'll say fact.
All right, thank you both for stopping by.
Anytime.
Coming up on Sports Paws, some coaches are finally extended their benefits, but one is out. Stick around to find out who. Also, ahead, Jon Alba catches up with the women's rugby team to find out more about the mentorship program they're implementing. Don't take time. Sports Paws.
Quinnipiac University has named Jillian Karwoski as interim head softball coach. Karwoski comes to Quinnipiac from Providence College, where she was assistant coach for the 2012-2013 season. Before that, she was head coach at MAAC College for the 2011-2012 season. Karwoski's hiring comes after the university parted ways with head softball coach Jermaine Fairchild earlier in the week. The Quinnipiac Chronicle spoke to a former player about Fairchild's departure. The former player said that Fairchild had difficulty communicating with her players. Stay tuned to Q30 Sports as that story continues to develop.
After having the most successful season in your program's history, it only makes sense to bring back your coach. And that is exactly what Quinnipiac did, extending women's basketball head coach Trisha Fabry's contract through the 2017-2018 season. It also turns out there will be more for more. Of course, I'm talking about men's basketball head coach Tom Moore, who has signed an extension through the 2017-2018 season as well. And they say good things come in threes. Last but certainly not least is women's hockey head coach Rick Seeley. Coach Seeley is also extended through, Camille, can you guess through what year?
2017-2018.
You got it.
Quinnipiac's women's rugby took on Eastern Illinois for the first season opener. Interestingly enough, that is head coach Becky Carlson's alma mater. The Bobcats defeated Eastern 65-7. Natalie Costco matched her career high of 4 tries in the game. Juniors Elsa Quelliar and Shannon Durkin each collected a pair of tries during the matches. Freshman Maggie Miles made her debut and scored 8 points and made an assist for the Bobcats. The 58-point win was the Panthers' largest margin of defeat in school history. Quinnipiac will head to Colorado Springs to face the Air Force in a non-conference matchup at Glenwood Park, Saturday, September 7th.
You know you have the master and the apprentice, the veteran and the rookie, Mr. Miyagi and the Karate Kid. All right, now it's wax on and wax off. Anyways, usually the best athletes either get mentored or mentor others. The women's rugby team started a new mentorship program, and our very own Jon Alba has a story.
Junior Jennifer Solomon and freshman Maggie Gagekis are teammates on one of Quinnipiac's best squads. But because of a new program, Solomon is also something else, a mentor.
You know, we have 7 incoming freshmen this year, which makes up for 1/3 of the population of our team, and that makes a very large impact on their performance. They're having to adjust to new people, not just their styles of plays, but their personalities, their behaviors. So we thought, why don't we create something that answers those needs?
I was very excited. I got the email. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And when I came first day for preseason, we got these books, and it says 2013-2014 QU Rugby Mentor Program, and I was like, this is legit.
Carlson came up with the program after attending a conference and seeing something similar used at larger schools. She based her system around 4 key components: respect, honor, integrity, and excellence.
We developed those because we wanted those core values to be important to them. I think too often the mission and somehow the core values gets lost in what you're doing, and we wanted to make it less about rugby and more about developing the athlete all the way around.
We go to practices together, and we have to start going to like dinner together and studying together.
As a mentor, we need to spend an hour a week having dinner with our mentee and an hour a week studying with them, and you know, it emphasized a lot time management.
Also included in the program is a letter written from the freshman to her parents. Carlson believes this is one of the most important parts of the entire process.
We wanted to kind of send a message to the parents from the student athletes, not guidelines that are made by the coach, not me sending an email out, but a message from the student athletes to their parents saying, I'm going to be fine if anything happens. I will be soliciting my mentor. I will be soliciting the QU officials here, my coaches.
It says a lot about our coaches, actually. It really proves the fact that they're not just here to prove that, women can do what men can do. They're here to build us up as individuals for our communities, to go out into the world and be prepared and to just have a better understanding of ourselves and more confidence in ourselves.
The coach and her players believe that the program has been a success and that other sports should adapt it.
I'm ecstatic with the results. Our staff could not be happier. This is, although we're not as deeply rooted in history as other sports here, certainly in the third year of the program, what I've anticipated and the goals for this program, we've certainly exceeded them, and we will continue to do so.
Though the mentorship program has been successful thus far, the true success will be measured come the dog days of the season. From Alumni Field, Jon Alba, Q30 Sports.
The women's soccer team returned home after a loss to nationally ranked Georgetown to take on the St. Joseph Hawks. This is a non-conference game for both of the teams. St. Joe's is currently 1-0-1 on the season. Last season, the Hawks qualified for the Atlantic 10 tournament for the first time in 7 seasons, and they will have 8 returning seniors compared to Quinnipiac's 4. The Bobcats are ranked 8th in the MAAC preseason coaches poll. This is the first time in history that the Bobcats have played St. Joe's. Women's soccer hosting St. Joe's University. Quinnipiac is entering the game 0-1, hoping to get their first win. 3 minutes into the game, Anya McKeever scores off of a set piece, and QU is going to take the early lead with 1-0 score. A few plays later, we have Anya McKeever again with a free kick just outside of the box. The shot goes off, and it's another score for the Bobcats. The Bobcats are up 2-0. St. Joe's tries to fight back. It's a close call on the corner kick, but the header doesn't go in. QU leads going into the half. In the second half, Natalia Grodzki in goal for the Bobcats, and she's going to make a close save on an SJU shot. Grodzki has 5 saves for the day. In the 78th minute, we have Emily Gringich on a penalty kick. She's going to capitalize, and QU is only up 2-1 now. But St. Joe's isn't done. We have Gingrich again taking the ball down the field. We're only 33 seconds from the previous play, and it's going to be Gingrich to tie the game 2-2. We're in the final seconds of the game. We have a kick from Godsky, and it's going to be Mo Hawkins for SJU to take it down the field. Shot off, and SJU gets the win with QU falling 3-2, and the record for the season falls 0-2. Quinnipiac is back in action Friday the 6th against Brown at home. Coming up on Sports Paws, our men's soccer team takes on Providence, and a former player signs with the professional team. Women's volleyball and field hockey both start off their seasons with tournaments. We'll be right back.
Last season, the men's soccer team won the regular season Northeast Conference title for the first time in program history. In their first season in the MAAC, they are projected to finish 6th. Head coach Eric DaCosta and his squad went to Providence to take on the Friars, but were ousted 3-2. Simon Hine and Michelle Baker both scored for QU in the leading effort. Quinnipiac will stay in the Northeast region for their second game of a 3-game road trip as they will face the Boston College Eagles on Labor Day.
Former Quinnipiac men's soccer midfielder Robbie McClarney has signed to play professionally with the Waterford United FC in the First Division of Ireland. He recently made his debut playing 70 minutes against English Premier League side Crystal Palace FC. His team is currently in 3rd place in their division. McClarney only played 1 year here at Quinnipiac, but he sure did make an impact. He was named to the All-North Atlantic 3rd team, the All-Northeast Conference 2nd team, and was elected as Quinnipiac Men's Soccer Player of the Year after helping lead the Bobcats to their first NEC regular season championship in the program's history. McClarney led the NEC with 7 assists on the season, which ranks him as a tie for the 9th place in Bobcats' all-time list.
The women's volleyball team headed down to Texas this week for the Delta Zeta Texas State Classic. Quinnipiac could not come out with a win, losing all 4 games to Houston, SMU, Texas State, and Lamar. The The Bobcats did not win one set in the first 3 games of the Classic. Quinnipiac will host the Providence Rise September 4th at 6 p.m. for their first home game of the season.
The Quinnipiac women's field hockey team opens their season this weekend at the MAAC Invitational hosted by Hofstra University. Kristen Engelke scored the Bobcats' lone goal in the first game against Syracuse University. The final score of that game was 5-1 Syracuse. Quinnipiac bounced back from the loss with a 6-4 win against LaSalle. Seniors Jess Rusin led the team with 2 goals. Both Kristen Engelke and Amanda Danziger made the ASIC Invitational All-Tournament team. The Bobcats return to the field September 5th when they'll be taking on nationally ranked number 16 Boston College.
Both the men's and women's cross-country teams traveled to New York this past weekend for the Stony Brook Invitational, and one team ran away from the rest of the pack, pun intended, and that team was the Quinnipiac Bobcats. The women's team took first place overall, while 7 of QU's own finished in the top 15. The Lady Seawolves finished second. It was the opposite for the men's team, as Stony Brook finished in first, while QU placed second.
Both the men and women's tennis teams will start their first season in the MAAC next week. On September 6th and 7th, the men's team will travel to Stony Brook, New York for the Stony Brook Invitational. The women's team will play the Sacred Heart Doubles Festival in Fairfield on September 7th. Mike Quitko and his men's squad are looking to rebound after losing the Northeast Conference semifinals last season, while the women look to bounce back from their loss in the conference final.
You know, earlier in the show, we teased about women's rugby not being the only team making history, and that team is a Sports Paws team. From the producers to the production assistants, we here at Sports Paws put 100% 7 days a week to make sure each show runs smoothly. And for the second straight year, we have been recognized for it. Sports Paws is nominated for a 2013 Pinnacle Award for Best Collegiate Sportscast in the country. The award will be presented in October, the College Media Association Conference in New Orleans. And while that's all about the sports info we have for today, I have to be honest, Camille, I could never get sick and tired of just sitting down and talking to people about sports.
Well, me too, Gio. Thanks for tuning in this week. For more information, follow us on Twitter at Q30 Sports.
And don't forget to like us on Facebook as well at Q30 Sports.
Until next week, I'm Camille Bova.
And I'm Giovanni Mio. You stay classy, Quinnipiac.